Hi, James Mitchell here, and in this video I'll be looking at your tarot cards for the week starting February the 29th, 2016. So stay tuned. And here we are with the cards on the table, and the deck assisting me for this week's reading is the Tarot of the Lotus Circle, and it is by Marilyn Campbell. And as I do for these weekly general readings, I'm taking the deck and I'm going to be shuffling the deck. And as I do, the intention is always the same for these readings. I'm asking the deck, I'm asking Spirit and the universe, what do we need to know in terms of information about the week ahead so we can make this as great a week as we possibly can. So I'm going to shuffle one more time. I'm going to cut the deck. I'm going to take the top three cards. First card is going to represent the beginning of the week. Second card is going to represent the middle of the week, and then the last card is going to represent the end of the week. And those are our cards. So as I do in these weekly general readings, I always look at the card on the bottom of the deck, as that's going to serve as the underlying energy. I also look at it as the base or the foundation for the week. So this card is the Princess of Coins, and the Princess of Coins comes up when we are embarking on a new learning stage of development. Princesses represent learning, they represent being a student, and this one is known as the student and the scholar. So we are being encouraged to look at everything that we experience this week as a learning experience. So the question, when you're faced with a challenge or an experience, the underlying question is going to be, what is this experience here to teach me? What am I learning from having gone through this experience? Now, the image has a woman who is a fashion model. So I'm looking at that as is symbolic of looking at our own image. What image are we projecting? The people in the audience are the people who are in your circle, your audience, and you're being asked to consider what image is it that you're portraying. What image are you giving off? What is it that people are seeing? Is it the accurate image? Is it something that you want them to see? Or is it just something that you are using to mask yourself, cover things up? It's not really being who you are. So there's a question here about the image that we're giving off, and is it really accurate? Is it authentic? Is it who we really want to be seen as? The other thing, playing on the idea of being a model, could be like, what are you modeling? Going with that, and also to, who is your role model? Who are you modeling yourself after? Things of that nature. So consider, who is it that you look up to? Who is it that you consider to be a role model in your life? And what is it that makes them a role model? What is it in terms of a characteristic, in terms of their own image and identity? In terms of the role that they're playing in your life, what is it that they are modeling? What is it that they're demonstrating that you want to exemplify, that you want to idolize? What is it that you want to model yourself after? I'm hearing in my head the phrase that imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. But the other side of that is, be careful about the idea of imitating somebody else, because what it is that you're creating what I call the echo effect. You're duplicating somebody else, and it could be that you need to understand that it's important for you to be who you are, because you are unique and you are original. So when you spend a lot of time modeling after somebody else, duplicating somebody else, you lose yourself, and we need you to be who you are in this world. So the Princess of Coins underlying is Again, as you're going through life this week, ask yourself, what is each experience that you are having? What is it informing you about you? What is it that it's teaching you? What is it that you're learning? And the other side is about looking at the image that you're giving off this week, and take a good look at the people that you are learning from, in terms of maybe putting them on a pedestal, or in terms of looking at them as a role model. And are they demonstrating the traits and qualities that you really want to be modeling yourself after? So that's the Princess of Coins. Card in the first position at the beginning of the week, we have the Hierophant. So it's very, I love how this works. There are no mistakes. Now, I said the Princess of Coins was the student and the scholar in tarot. Well, the Hierophant is all about learning institutions. So it's very funny. So we have the idea of this being a student and a teacher, this dynamic. So there is a saying in life that we are also the student and the teacher. So at some phase in our life, we play the role of the student, and then at other points in our life, we adopt the role of the teacher. So it could be that you may find yourself at the beginning of the week teaching something that you have learned from personal experience. The other thing about the Hierophant, it comes up when we are being asked to look at the way that we teach people about our belief systems, because the Hierophant is all about beliefs and belief systems. If you look at the image on the card, it's the scene of a baptism. So a baptism is a spiritual rite of passage, and the Hierophant is a person who plays the role of like a clergy person, a pope, somebody of faith. So it's about like demonstrating what it is that you believe, maybe in terms of your spiritual practices and your spiritual beliefs. So it could be some idea of that. The other thing about the Hierophant, in terms of the baptism being a rite of passage, it could be that at the beginning of the week you may be embarking on your own rite of passage. So it could be either you or somebody in your circle is going through something of a baptism of some sort. It might not be like an actual baptism like on the card, but it could be like a baptism by fire, so to speak. So, you know, you're embarking on a new experience. It's an experience that's designed to teach you something, but it's like a baptism by fire. I keep getting that phrase in my head. The other thing that I'm seeing with the idea of the baptism here, it could be water is a symbol of our life. It's emotional energy. It's spiritual energy. So it could be like there may be some sort of cleansing taking place, like, you know, being washed, something being washed away, something that you no longer need. It could be, you know, a return to innocence, going with the baby, a return to purification, something of that nature. And along with those lines, and the Hierophant is asking us to consider the idea of approval and disapproval. You know, are you doing things, going back to the Princess of Coins, are you doing things, are you giving off a certain kind of image, are you playing a certain kind of role because you are seeking the approval of other people around you? And that could be, again, going with the idea of the audience here, is like, are you kind of playing a role for a particular crowd? And if so, why is that? You know, why is it so important for you to get those people's approval? Now, the other thing could be the Hierophant is also known as the middleman. His role in terms of clergy is that he gives a message to the masses. So it could be, if you are on stage, like the Princess of Coin being on stage, and maybe you are a speaker, then this card is asking you to consider, what is your message? What is it that you have to say? Who do you have to say it to? Things of that nature. So consider, like, if you are actually engaged in the process of speaking, like you're actually a speaker, or you're learning the fine art of public speaking, then consider who your audience is and what the message is that you have for them. And also understand this, since I talked about approval and disapproval, understand that when you put yourself out there, you put your message out there, regardless of what form it takes. When you do that, it's not going to be for everybody, because, like I said, the Hierophant is about approval and disapproval. So your message will not resonate with everyone, and that has to be okay. So it's about maybe when you are giving your message, you learn more about who your message is for by first putting it out there to the people who it's not for and who don't resonate with it. So that is the Hierophant. The middle of the week, we have the Three of Wands. Okay, so now the Three of Wands is a card that can represent looking ahead. This gentleman on the card, he's about to embark on a train, so it could be going along with the learning aspect of the Princess of Coins and the Hierophant. In the middle of the week, you could be embarking on a training journey, like, you know, you're learning something. And with that, wands carry the sense of work. This is a suit that represents work, business, creative projects, creative endeavors, enterprises. So it could be that you are embarking on a training that's going to help you in terms of your work or your business. Now, in terms of work and business, this is a card that represents the birth of a new enterprise. So I always see this as like one of the cards that could suggest either you are thinking about starting your own type of business, or that you are actively looking for work with somebody else's company, things of that nature. But the idea here is that we're looking for work, whether it is self-employment or employment through another channel. The Three of Wands ask us to explore all possibilities and broaden your horizons, because it's about looking ahead. If you tend to work with the law of attraction, this is a law of attraction card, and with that, it's the idea that your ship is coming in. You are starting to see the results of the intentions and the actions that you have been setting and taking in conjunction with the law. Now, I'm looking at the card, and right here in the corner, there is a clock, so it could just represent something is happening according to time, or timing is factoring into the situation. So there may be some element of needing to wait for something to come in. The idea of like the ship coming in, you know, that whole thing. You could see it on the horizon. It hasn't come in yet. And so there is a little bit of being in the process of waiting for that sense of arrival. The other thing with the Three of Wands, this is an important card when we are exploring the idea of looking at something long term. So again, this is about having a vision, having a mission. What are those things? Especially if you are entertaining the idea of like setting a platform and putting your message out into the world, so to speak, then this card would be like, what's the vision? What vision do you have for that message? And what's the mission of the message? So I'm seeing that as all possibilities with the Three of Wands. The last thing with the Three of Wands that I want to mention is that in the middle of the week, it could be a time, going with the clock, where we need to have support. It could be in terms of identity and image, going with the Wands aspect, because that part of the suit represents image and identity. Going back to the roles that we play, it could be that you have been seen, or you have been demonstrating the role of always being supportive of other people about the things that they're doing in their lives. This could be a time where you are needing the support of other people. And so it's different than doing things because you're trying to meet their approval with the Hierophant. Support is a much different thing, because you are being true to who you are and not necessarily playing a role just to satisfy other people, but you're being true to who you are, and as a result of that, needing support that is going to be moving you forward. The whole energy with Three of Wands, before I move on to the other card, is this. It's about being in a stage where you're looking ahead, you're making plans, and that you can see that the prospects for what is coming up for you look really, really good. So that's the energy of the Three of Wands. And there may be, before I go on, I'm seeing these two cards as forming a conjunction. So typically what happens is whenever I get a major arcana card like the Hierophant, and then this card, the Three of Wands, follows it, it can represent a period of 3 days. So be on the lookout for this sense of inspiration to move forward 3 days from the time that you happen to catch this video. So I'm seeing that as a, there's something about 3 days in the course of the week. So it could be like you set something up and then you see some result of that 3 days later. So that's the Three of Wands. Now moving to the end of the week, we have the Queen of Wands. So now this is very interesting. So a lot of the energy here for this week seems to be, for me, around work and career, because we have the coins. Coins is a suit of career, and then we have two wand cards, and wands represents, like I said, work, business, and enterprise. So here we have, at the end of the week, we have the Queen of Wands. So now the Queen of Wands for me is a card that represents being serious about our career. So, and if it's not career related, if you're not feeling the energy for you this week is career related, then it's just about you being passionate about the role that you are adopting, whatever it is. It's about taking it to the next level, but being serious about it. So I'm seeing that kind of energy now. It's very interesting, the picture here on the card. So we're finishing up where we started with the foundation card and the Hierophant, where she is actually in the role here as being a teacher. And so when I see this card in this particular deck, I look at the stuff that's on the green board. It's not a blackboard, but on the board behind her, because here she's in a role where she's teaching people kind of like a new way of language. This is all symbolic, so it's about learning a new language. It's a new way of speaking. It's a new way of communicating. So I'm seeing that energy. So it's about adopting or learning a new way to communicate with other people. But it's serving the same energy. So there's a great deal of energy around speaking. So if you are not a professional speaker, if you're not on that track, going with the Three of Wands to becoming a professional speaker, then the overall energy here is about being mindful of the arts of communication here, and how the words that you are using, and they're going to be in different contexts, you know, there may be different audiences. It's about learning to cater your message, for lack of a better way of saying it, catering your message to the audience that you're in. In some roles you may have spiritual conversations or familial conversations. In some you may have business related conversations. In some you may serve the role as a teacher and having conversations that way, where you're expressing a point, trying to get somebody to understand something, trying to teach something, getting somebody to learn something. So each one of those experiences is going to have the need for a different type of conversation, a different type of communication skill. And so being mindful of that. Now the Queen of Wands can also be, for me, the sign of Aries. So it could be somebody watching this who happens to be an Aries person. This may be a particular interest and speaking directly to you. If you are not Aries, then it could be that you are being informed of an Aries person around you. And if that doesn't fit, then I would go with the other aspect of it, and just looking at the idea of what it is that you are teaching other people in terms of experience. What is it that you are also learning? Because there's a strong energy of being both the student and the teacher this week. So what is it that your experiences are teaching you about you? And also, what is it that maybe you're learning about other people and situations that you are experiencing as well? The idea is like looking at the experience as a whole, but looking at it in different ways about what is it that it's teaching you, and what is it that you are learning, and what is it that you are probably teaching to other people as a result of having that experience. So I'm seeing that as the energy of the cards for the week. So the next thing we can do is we can look to see what the overall lesson card is, and we will look at that from the perspective of the major arcana. And so to determine the major arcana card for the week, we're going to take the 3 cards that served as the cards for the week. We're going to look at the numbers, and we're going to take the sum of those numbers and find out what the corresponding major arcana card for the week is. So the Hierophant is 5, and then we have the 3 of Wands, so that's 3. So 5 and 3 is 8, and then the Queens in Tarot for me represent 13, because they go, the Princess would be 11, the Prince or the Knight would be 12, Queen would be 13, and the King would be 14. So here we have 13. So we have 8 and 13 is 21. So there are 22 major arcana cards in the Tarot, and the 21st major arcana card is the World. And here's the card. So the world is a card that represents the successful completion of a cycle or a phase. Now, with the theme here being teaching and learning, this is an interesting card to have because it can represent a state of graduation. So that could be literal. I didn't see this before, I didn't mention it before, but the whole idea here is that someone watching this video could actually be in the process of going through school. So it could be a literal thing. And there may be somebody who's going to school to become a teacher, going with the Queen of Wands as possible career. The other thing here that I'm seeing repeating is the idea of, with the Princess of Coins and the Queen of Wands, is the idea of this idea of image, because I always sometimes, well not always, but sometimes see the Queen of Wands in the role of being an image consultant. So there's that idea, that repetitive message about looking at our image and the role that we are playing in the world. Now, notice how I said in the world, because the world card can just represent being out in the world. That's another aspect of it. So, but with the idea of graduation, if it's not in the literal sense and it's in the metaphorical sense, which means that we are reaching a new level of awareness. So it's just a matter of you come into this new level of awareness because you have taken the time to ask yourself the question about what it is that you are learning about yourself from the experiences that you have in everyday life. The idea here, the woman on the card is holding the world. It's like a globe, but she's holding it on a string. So it just represents like the world being in your hands, or you having a firm grasp on your world, which should be your everyday life. So I'm seeing that it just represents a new level of awareness or coming into a new state of consciousness. So this idea here is about maybe there's a particular experience that you're having where you see it come full circle. That's the other thing about the world. It's about something coming full circle. It's coming all the way around. And with it, you have learned something new about yourself. You're different or you're changed as a result of having had the experience now that you've come to the other side of it. So that there's that aspect of it. A lot of the energy that I also saw had to do with work and career. The world card can be a career path card. So it could be someone watching this video may be asking themselves, you know, what is it that I want to do at this point in my life in terms of their career? And it could be that, or if you're embarking on a career, it's like, where are you going to be in the world? Where do you see yourself? Remember, I said that the Three of Wands, a card underneath it, was a card that represents broadening your horizons and looking at all possibilities. And so one of the possibilities could be is about where do you want to be in the world geographically speaking? Like, where is your place? We all have a place in the world to be in terms of what it is that we're here to do. And so you could be asking yourself, the bigger question is like, where am I supposed to be in the world? What am I supposed to be doing? And getting about the business of becoming clear on that so you can move forward with that. The other thing that I see with the world card, it could be if you have a spiritually based business. I sometimes see the world as the spiritual practitioner. So if you happen to be an astrologer, if you happen to be, like myself, a tarot card reader, if you happen to be a palm reader, a palmist, if you have any kind of spiritual modality, Reiki practitioner just popped into my head, any kind of spiritual modality that you are a practitioner of and you want to get about the business of doing that, then this card is asking you to kind of consider what ways can you get yourself out into the world more. I sometimes see this going with the Three of Wands again underneath it. Three of Wands is an internet card. So I tend to see the world in this context as being on the World Wide Web, you know, playing on the idea of the world. So it could be one of the ways that you're being asked to kind of become more global and to have more reach is to actually be on the internet. So that would be something that you'd want to consider. And then the other thing with the Three of Wands and the world is that they both share the number 3, because if you take 21 and add the 2 and the 1, you get 3. So going again with the whole idea about the law of attraction, with the Three of Wands, this is a card about looking at the results. The 3 is a number of a couple of things. Number 1 is, like I said, a number of results, but it's also a number of commitment. So looking at if you are on the track where you want to do more with your career, you want to explore the possibilities, you want to broaden your horizons with that in whatever form that takes for you, then this card is asking you to commit to that. What commitments are you making in regards to getting your career on the fast track, kind of moving it forward? You know, what are you doing in terms of making the commitment to that? The other thing could be paying attention to the results that are coming in. I mentioned results. And also to, with the law of attraction, what is it that you're manifesting? What is it that's showing up? Because that's going to be informing you about the energy that you're putting into that. And you may need to do what's called a course correction. You could either be on the right track or the wrong track. And so that would give you an idea of like, how do you need to pivot? Do you need to make a course correction? Do you need to make a pivot? And so keep that in mind. So I'm seeing that kind of energy. But the World card is a great card to have because it represents, a successful completion. It represents a success. It represents triumph, victory. It represents something coming full circle and something being completed. And as a result of that, you have a new level of awareness. You're in a new state of consciousness. I love this card. So this has been your week in tarot. So summing up, the beginning of the week, the Hierophant is asking us to look at, considering what it is that we are doing in terms of a learning experience. Are we actually in an institution where we're actually learning something, some higher form of learning? And if not, then you're being asked a bigger question is, what is it that your experiences are teaching you about you? And also to keep in mind about a possible need for approval, and if so, why is that a strong need? And especially look at who you're looking at to meet that need of approval. Who is your audience? Who are you seeking that from? Three of Wands in the middle of the week. This is a card where we are looking at our future plans. We're looking at the prospects. The prospects look good. We may be asked to consider the idea of exploring all possibilities and broadening our horizons. And we're looking at the place where we're questioning whether it is that we are on the right track or not. So I'm seeing that with the Three of Wands. And then rounding out the week, we have the Queen of Wands. Again, just like we had with the Hierophant at the beginning of the week, at the end of the week, we are maybe taking the time to consider what image, what role are we projecting out into the world? What is it that our experiences are teaching us? And also, too, what is it that we are teaching other people about how to be in relation with us? So this has been your week in tarot. I am James Himm Mitchell. I am signing off, and I'm wishing you a tarot-tastic week. And until our next video together, take care.